Seattle. But the game itself was really good, and it just, again, showcased a lot of the players today who are just so spectacularly athletic and talented. It is amazing.
Well, one thing that makes them fun to watch, and Dibbs and I were saying this right after the home run derby too, Tim, is the joy on their faces. And it just felt like this go around, there was so much joy on the field with all the players compared to other years in the past. Now, you being on the field, did you feel that difference at all? Because it felt like that watching it.
Yes. Again, it's a young man's game today, fellas, as you know, and a lot of young men are really into this and not afraid to show their personality, not afraid to celebrate. And for the most part, I think that's good. And Elias Diaz, who won the MVP, kind of personifies it, even though he's 32 years old and was the last position player to play for the National League team. I interviewed him after his home run, and he said, I said, what about that, reception you got from your teammates? And he said, well, I told them all I was going to win the MVP earlier in the game, and then he did. It was incredible.
Tell me about Luis Arraez and his assault on 400. What a great hitter! I mean, we have so many great hitters, but this guy takes the cake, hitting 380 at this point in the season.
Yeah, at the All-Star break, Dibbs, he had 126 hits and 19 strikeouts at the All-Star break. 14 players at the All-Star break had 100 strikeouts or more, and this guy had 19. And he's put the ball in play better than anyone. He reminds me a little bit of Rod Carew, a little bit of Tony Gwynn, two of the greatest hitters we've ever seen. And he should be teaching a lesson to everyone right now that this is the way you can play the game and be really successful. You don't have to hit a home run every time up. You don't have to swing as hard as you can. If you know what you're doing and you can get the barrel to the ball, you're going to have a great deal of success. I think he's proving to everyone that there's another way to play this game, and nobody is playing it better than him in that respect right now.
We love watching the new Ellie De La Cruz on Dibbs's Reds. He's been a lot of fun to watch in the price of admission. The Reds, the Baltimore Orioles, if not this year win, Tim, they have to be buyers with what they're going through this season.
Yeah, especially the Orioles, because the Orioles made a big jump last year and got to 83 wins, and they got everyone excited in Baltimore that they're going to the playoffs now, and they can't just sit back as they kind of did in the offseason and didn't do much. They have to go get a frontline starting pitcher. Now, that's easier said than done. I mean, is Marcus Stroman or, Dylan Cease or Giolito even going to be available? Who knows? But they can't just sit back because the people in Baltimore are now invested. They've been through a lot of losing the last 5 or 6 years, and it is time. And I think we're going to see them do something significant because I believe that they have to. Once you get people's expectations up, it is your responsibility to follow through. The Reds are in a slightly different case because they're going from 100 losses last year, and their system is really good. I think they got to go get a starting pitcher also because we're starting to see now how much better Milwaukee's pitching is than Cincinnati's. We saw that last weekend. I think the Reds have to do something also, but they're not as desperate as the Orioles having to do something.
Talking to Tim Kurkjian, senior writer, analyst for MLB on ESPN, and I was going to bring that up. Baltimore Orioles have won 8 in a row. They're one game back of the Tampa Bay Rays, second place in the AL East, which I think is the toughest division in baseball. Red Sox, Yankees are tied for last place. Can the Orioles keep this up? They're a great young ball club, and will they make the moves necessary to go deep in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they're going to get a starting pitcher, and I think they're for real. About a week into the season, I was talking to Brandon Hyde, their manager, just casually, and I said, team's good. And he went, team is talented. He was trying to make the differentiation between a really talented team and a really good team. Well, in that time now, the last 3.5, 4 months, this team has gone from really talented to really good. They are legit in every way other than being a frontline pitcher short. They play with such athleticism, with such hunger, with such emotion. It is really, really fun to watch them play. And they have so many pieces in their farm system, and they have regular, everyday players in the big leagues who aren't playing every day right now because they have so many good young players, especially infielders, that I think they could trade a quality major league player right now, get something more in return, and get them in a better position than they are now. But they're going to the playoffs, fellas. I'm pretty sure about that.
Tim, it's weird asking you this because we are talking some Hartford Whalers on today's show, but what are your thoughts on the Oakland A's? Just Oakland A's 2023 season. When you look back on the statistics on that record for that franchise, what's going to run through your head?
Well, it's pretty bad. I mean, they're 25-70. That's indescribably bad. And keep in mind, I covered the '88 Orioles every day that lost 107 games and lost their first 21 games. I didn't think it could ever get worse than that. But the A's are really bad, and it's unfortunate because ownership doesn't seem to really mind that the team is that bad. And we'll see if they move to Las Vegas. My guess is they will, but there's no guarantee of that. And it's just a shame, and it's not good for baseball. It's very unhealthy that the gap now between the worst teams and the best teams is wider than I've ever seen it. And when a team is this bad, and the Royals aren't much better, that's not good for the game.
I know the Yankees and the Mets have spent a lot of money on their ball clubs, Dodgers, but Texas Rangers did as well. But they brought in Bruce Bochy. And is that the difference maker when you bring in a guy like that seems to have been a solid rock all year for that team? Is that the difference maker, having the right guy get a team to gel?
Well, it certainly helps. I know in spring training, I talked to a couple guys, and they whispered to me, everything changed here when Bruce Bochy walked through the door. I mean, you have 3 World Championship rings, you have over 2,000 Major League victories, and you have a spot already secured in the Hall of Fame. Sure, that makes a difference. However, they've also added some really good offensive players the last couple of years, led by Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. They added pitching in the offseason, and even though Jacob deGrom didn't work out, they've added some good players. But Bruce Bochy's been the biggest addition for me, given how important a manager can be to a team when you allow him to manage the team, as opposed to letting the analytics people set the lineup and tell you what you're going to do during the game. That was part of the agreement. They hired Bruce Bochy, and they told him, you're going to manage the team.
Is the series Yankees-Angels an audition for the Yankees to show what they can provide if Shohei was on their franchise?
Yeah, I